So tonight I'm going to talk about Wi-Fi. When I was writing this presentation, I realized that I'm talking not only about Wi-Fi, but I'm also talking about 3G and even to some extent Bluetooth also. But I will focus on Wi-Fi right now, but what I'm going to talk about pretty much applies to most of the radio technology that you use in your devices, may that be mobile, 3G or 4G or Wi-Fi. So yeah, that's about me. So basically that's me. That's not very interesting. So let's get to the interesting part. Why should I care? Why should you care as an app developer to know about Wi-Fi connection, about 3G and things like that? Why do I care? Well, pretty much most of app developer live on your app. You live by your app, right? If your app doesn't make it, you don't make it, basically. That's the bottom line. So pretty much for indie developer that release their own app, like gaming and things like that, they want to make sure that when they release the app and you use Wi-Fi or 3G or any kind of internet connectivity, you have to make sure that it doesn't suck the battery out of the device itself. So that's why you have to care how you're going to use the Wi-Fi, whether you're using it in the right way or you're doing it in the wrong way. Bandwidth. Not everybody has got a very big bandwidth for their device. So if you look at South Asia country, they don't have the luxury that most of the Western world have got. So bear that in mind that bandwidth also is a it's a precious commodity in some countries. So if you want to get global, make sure that you know how to adjust your app in those kind of condition. You want your app to be responsive. You don't want your app to be waiting all the time, and then the users, I don't want to download it anymore, this application, I'm just going to uninstall it. You don't want that. You want your application to be responsive. At the same time also, it's fun to use. So you have to make sure that you know how to do that. Pretty much, if you have a happy user, your rating will go up, which means your app will be used more in everywhere. So this is why you should care. And I hope by the end of this talk, you'll get some benefit out of this for your apps. So let's take a look now at the high level view of the whole stack. So on the top level you have all your YouTube, your Gmails, your app, your domain website and app and things like that. That talks to the framework, which is pretty much everybody knows about this, and then it talks to the Wi-Fi Android layer. And then from there on it talks to the Linux kernel and then to the hardware. So this is pretty much the same way all apps communicate with the hardware. So that's pretty much stock standard. There's nothing fancy about that. Now let's take a look at more in detail of how exactly it does work internally. So you have the app, which is the YouTube app in this case, and then the YouTube app will somehow inside the app it needs to communicate to know what the state of the connection is. May there be 3G connection, may there be Wi-Fi connection, whatever connection is, it needs to know about that particular connection. So it requests that connection from the system service, and then the system service will go through the different classes it has got internally to see, because internally it uses what is called a state machine. So it knows exactly at a particular point in time what is the state of your internet connection, may that be from 3G or from Wi-Fi. So you use a lot of state machine handling there. And then from there, if you notice, the Wi-Fi native is the central point where it communicates with the different layers. So now you're talking about the Java layer. And then from the Wi-Fi native, it talks to the low level layer, which is the native layer, which is the C++ layer. Then you have another layer over there, which is the framework layer, that communicate with what is called the WPA supplicant. So what is this? This is actually, if you're using Linux based distro, may that be Mac, may that be Ubuntu, any kind of Linux distro, this library is the soul of your connection to the internet. So if this screwed up, everything is screwed up basically. So the WPA supplicant client library is the one that's being used by the framework to communicate with the daemon that is running on your device. So your device has got a daemon that listens to command coming in from the framework. And then from the daemon itself, then it just communicate with the Linux kernel, and then automatically it'll communicate with your hardware. So pretty much that's how the internal work. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of interaction going on, right? So there's a lot of interaction between the Java layer, the C layer, and then the C layer to the hardware layer. Now, this will create a question, doesn't this slow down things? Yes, it does slow down things. That's why the whole process that you're seeing right now is not synchronous process. Everything that you're seeing here are all asynchronous process. That's why if you notice, if you have an application running and then automatically you don't have a 3G connection Wi-Fi, or sorry, the 3G data is dropped out for some reason, your application just thinking that there's still a connection, but then after a few seconds later, then you realize application will come out, oh, okay, there's no connection. So you see, the whole thing is asynchronous in nature. So that's why, because of this structure, your application must be architect properly so that you know how to inform the user if the connection drops out or something goes wrong with the connection, or you want to meter the bandwidth basically. Now, we know that Wi-Fi 3G is not reliable. We know about that already. That's pretty much everywhere you go in the world right now. It's unreliable, it's unpredictable, the battery usage is very, very high. Okay, to turn on the Wi-Fi to full power mode, it takes between 3 to 5 seconds, and that can consume a lot of battery, a lot of power. And as I told before, it's an asynchronous architecture in nature. So that means that if you want to develop a responsive app, you want to develop a proper app that communicate with the backend, with the network, then you have to be sure what you know what you're doing. That's why you have a lot of library, like Picasso for downloading images, and then so many open source library that you can use rather than you write your own boilerplate code. Now, we see that there's a lot of issues with Wi-Fi and 3G. What are the solutions? Well, these are some of the solutions. This is a high-level solution that most of the time before the pre-ice cream sandwich, pre 4.0, these are the most of the time that we app developer use. So we use the connection when we need it, and then we batch the download. So we batch whatever we need to download. And then, even though if we batch the download, sometimes also it's too much. So what we do is we fix size the download. So whatever download you want to do is fixed. May that be 2K, maybe 4K. That's why you see in the earlier talk when we talk about multimedia, that's the most hungry kind of application that you can come across with. That's why they have this buffering kind of concept, and then that's why most of the time it doesn't download the whole thing directly, it chunks them out. So that's one of the reasons why that's happening also. Push notification download. This is something that was there before, but now if you use GCM Google from the Google, it does have this kind of feature, the push notification download. But pretty much this is not something that you use a lot of time. But if you use GCM, they provide this kind of facility. Now, it's good that we come up with a solution. What do we do now with our apps, right? So you have a lot of open source library now you can use pretty much, or you can create your own homegrown library. But now in the Lollipop and above, you have what is called this job scheduler plus job info. It's not specifically related to Wi-Fi, but that's part of the issue that is being solved using this API. That's pre-Lollipop. They have also in the app compat library for before Lollipop, they have that available also. Now, in the whole thing that you have seen, there's only one particular class that's being used in all Android, basically, and that is called the connectivity manager. That particular class is being used by everywhere when it comes to connecting to the network. May that be downloading data, may that be downloading pictures, may that be downloading media, it doesn't matter. But that is the class that's responsible for connecting to, for getting the state of your internet connection, basically. May that be via 3G, may that be by Wi-Fi, doesn't matter. But that is responsible for that. So most of the time, a lot of the open source library out there, they do use this one to tap into to get understanding what is the state of the current connection. Is it connecting? Is it connected? Or is it disconnected? So what is actually it is doing? Because remember, I mentioned earlier that the Wi-Fi or the network library that works inside Android, it uses state machine. It knows exactly what is the current connection to the internet right now. May that be by 3G or may that be by Wi-Fi. Now the bottom one underneath the connectivity manager, that's the intent that normally you subscribe to or you wait for to get a receiver call from the framework. That will tell you what kind of connection you have, what is the state of the connection, how is the state of the connection, and so many things that you can get from there. So most of the time, that actually, come to think about, that's the only intent that you can subscribe to from the framework to get the connection information. Thank you.